So let's get started. I think you've been overhearing us. We're able to record the event, but the folks out in the ether can't quite get it yet, so that's what we're waiting on. I thank you for waiting on us, and we appreciate your patience. My name is Prudence Arceneaux. I am the Department Chair of Creative Writing here at Austin Community College. Thank you. We are here today to celebrate Women's History Month. We're here to celebrate humanity. That's really what we're doing. But this particular month, we are focused on the works of women, and we've got some amazing writers who are going to share some work with you today. First, before I forget, cell phones silenced. You got that taken care of? Because we love your ringtone, but it'll sound weird on the recording. Because I am also the department chair, I do have to spend a little time talking up some of our other events. If you haven't connected to our socials yet, please do. Our website's currently under construction. We don't have a lot of flashy things and, accident tape over it. But our best way to reach us and to find out what's happening is our socials. Coming up on the 26th, we have 2 literary conversations, which are kind of an enhanced author drop into a classroom, and it's a double feature. We've got some students coming in to a poetry and prose class in the afternoon, and then students coming in, or an author coming into that class. And then in the evening, we have an author coming in to a screenwriting class. So please check it out. It's open to the public, and it's an opportunity for our students and for the community to spend some time with a working, creative person and to ask the questions they want to ask, right? To think about the things that are happening in their work and ways to get that work out into the world. Next month, we have our Balcones Poetry Prize winner. For those of you who don't know, ACC is responsible for this prize, which is almost 30 years old, right? We believe that writers should be acknowledged, celebrated, and rewarded for the amazing work that they do. And we have a prize in fiction, poetry, and nonfiction. So the poetry winner is coming to us in April. Both events will be live streamed. We'll have a reading one night, and then the author is going to drop in to one of our classrooms. So again, check out our socials. All the links are in our bio there on our socials. We'd love to see you there. I do want to mention content warning for the evening. Speaking for myself, I know there's gonna be some language. I'm running through the whole long list of things. There's probably some booze in there, some sex, maybe some violence. I think one of our works maybe has some self-harm in it, right? So just be prepared. Keeping in mind, the study of literature, the listening to literature, the writing of literature is a study of the human experience. And the human experience is not always the softest, right? We want to make sure that the stories that we're sharing are stories that are authentic to lived experiences, which sometimes means we have to listen to things, read some things, see some things that make us a little uncomfortable. So it turns out I'm the first of the 4 readers this evening. I'm going to read my own bio, which I know for some of you feels like it's a strange thing, but I'm a Leo, so it's okay. I'll do the first person, because speaking of myself in third person just reminds me of my grandmother. I'm a native Texan. I teach English and creative writing here at Austin Community College. My work has appeared in various journals, including the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day, Limestone, New Texas, Hazmat Review, Texas Observer, Whiskey Island Magazine, African Voices, Inkwell. I've got 2 chapbooks out in the world, Dirt, which was the 2018 winner of the Jean Pedrick Prize, and Liberty. And I gotta tell you, I'm so excited. My full-length collection is out in the world. I'm so excited. The local booksellers, our community booksellers, are carrying it. Just a little plug on myself. I've got my book launch April 3rd at Book People, so come and see. So the stuff I'm going to share with you, some of it is from this new collection, and some of it's kind of older. It's stuff that hasn't necessarily had a place to be and to exist in the world. Sorry, I've got everybody's bios in front of it. All right, so I'm gonna read this poem. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bookend my reading with love poems, because I'm not known for them. And yeah, So I'll let you know, as you'll find out from my reading, I am a space nerd and a science nerd, and somehow that gets wrapped into all of the things that I love about life. I'm not sure why I didn't decide to become a scientist. Oh, that's right, Divya, I should spend some more time talking to you about that. But I decided this was my path, but I am still stopped. Did you all see the woolly mammoth mice? Right, so you know that there are people out there who are working on de-extinction, and one of the things they want to do is they want to bring back the woolly mammoth. And one of the first major steps was to inject the gene for the hair into mice. And so there are woolly mammoth mice out there, y'all. I need a pet. So this is entitled Listening to Roger Wallace's Crazy Love. And the other thing I should mention, I am also very engaged by nautical disasters. If the gods of the waters are going to do harm to humans in any way, I am very much engaged in those stories. Listening to Roger Wallace's Crazy Love. Each summer, 500 million 3-inch worms blackhead the pores of glacial faces. Scientists don't understand it, but don't call it crazy. Fascinating, scintillating, that's what you are. Worthy of study. But we've had the narrative arc all wrong. The main character, man or woman or water bear, just dies. No cancer, no tragic falls, no consumption, no rickets, not drunk, just stops being. And no one cares. At the corner of north, 41 degrees, 43 minutes, 32 seconds, and west, 49 degrees, 56 minutes, 49 seconds. There's a room of velvet, brocade, and satin, bespoke in liquid black, symphony full, bodies, strings, organs, a cellist forearm in lunar tempo. No need to change the history. Of course they played while the ship dervished to the floor. If you were about to be rewombed in cold amnion, wouldn't you want your last thoughts to be of the first time you realized you could please yourself with concentration, practice, and the movement of pressured fingers? Why does it have to be crazy? What if your blood is supposed to be blue? What if the connection between bone and tendon is supposed to be broken, bones dissolved, besotted, malunioned? What if sound only travels through a rictus of agonies? What if, just what if, you aren't supposed to come up for air? Sorry about that. I just sensed that everything was going to fall down. So I decided to read this one because we recently had a death in the family on Monday, and then another death today. And I say that because there's a section in this poem that I have to keep revising. And you'll hear where it gets revised. Where he lies. I hear my father's tombstone is etched marble white, like a monogrammed shirt. I wouldn't know. There was no stone when we walked away from that earth, wet at its edge, heat dancing drunk from the hole. The rental army had packed their tape recorder. The grave diggers, distant cousins, spit in the grass, made plans to make happy with cousins, not us. The bastard priest shopped for a ride back to the church hall. A whore, done with work, looking for food. I haven't returned. My uncle tends the graves. He mows the grass around his father's grave, his sister's grave, his brother's grave, his mother's grave, his brother's grave, his nephew's grave, his sister's grave, his nephew's grave, his sister's grave, his niece's grave. He is in death's employ. In our family, he will never be without a job. I'm glad he does it. In overalls, brogans, baseball cap, hidden in the pines and cypress, the hum of the mower, harmonies, mosquitoes, and frogs. He reports to my mother. My sister and I pay him in silence. I'm glad he does it. If death fired him and hired me, I'd cover it all with pitch and burn us right out of the ground. So I mentioned that I am a nerd, science nerd, space nerd, and people have often asked, like, what are you going to do if this job falls apart? And I don't always have an answer. I could go back to dancing, or I could work in a bookstore. And someone suggested, like, you could be the poet laureate of NASA. And I'd never made that connection. I mean, sure, other people, they're getting their poems beamed out into space and they're put on different satellites and rovers, but like, to be the poet laureate of NASA, like, I want the job. And I need someone to create the position so I can apply for it. NASA needs poets. What I wouldn't give for the chance to sail the void, I'd let myself get yawed, learn more languages. I'm already fluent in English and grief. Learn how to vomit in a bag to shield myself from too much light. I've trained my whole life to live in confined space, but I'll settle for being the first to talk up the musky promises of Terran land under Grand Canyon red Martian skies. Debate on CNN which atmosphere is most toxic, Venus or Earth. Oh, to be a meteorologist of Jupiter. Surely even I can be right 30% of the time. Stargazer that I am, a title I'd name tag even were I naked. I'm sure I should know names and distances, but I'll gladly quilt degrees and magnitudes on the insides of my eyelids. I'll start every poem with the image of the star-eating black hole, burping 4 million tons of life stuff, silently shouting heartbeats in future tense. Truly, I was born with an understanding of the subtleties of darkness and a need to know. Can you see hate from space? I want to proclaim the truth of dark matter. Yes, your Lord said, let there be light, but there is so much more that is dark, terrifyingly simple. Not knowing what is true north, other than what we've said of, we've been wrong, again. To be the harbinger of our savage hunger when we make it to Europa and taint its amniotic seas, extol the paths of dark energy that weave through the light, making highways, making signposts we should follow. Does it matter what Pluto is if we don't know what we are? Make whispers revelations in my ears. You'll see, they'll want me on the payroll as we expand into the never-ending, 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 never. Because everybody needs an angry woman poem. I'll just read this one. So my father was a farmer. Well, he would hate that. He was a farmer's son. And when he and my mom moved to Houston, he then took over a significant portion of the yard and turned it into, in essence, farmland. My sister and I did not pick up any of that at all. But I know when things are not right. I weed like a woman angered. I plant my feet, warrior stance. I don't even know what I'm grabbing, yanking, tearing from the earth. I didn't plant this bed. Anyone looking at it can tell it was laid by a man. He dug up sheets of grass and dirt, turned them over in his hands, and put it all right back, without once checking to see what's going into the bed. There was no look for the seeds of ugly things, the stuff that comes back unwanted. He placed the new plants, fresh shoots green with life in that dirt, and stood back to watch his work, stood back and walked away. He promised to water, to feed, to take out anything that would hurt the life there. Promised and walked away. So here I am in the sun, hunched like an old maid, getting out the things he overlooked, the things he can't be bothered to notice. Anything with spines scares me. The bees deter me. Until they go about their business elsewhere, I am frozen, the garden gnome among the green. I think these are aphids I crush as I move from tiny pecan tree to tiny budding pecan tree. I have to take breaks to look up what I pull out of this bed. Johnson grass, crabgrass, clover, and I'm enthralled by the pulling until I pull something that should be there in this garden. But I remember it was laid by a man who doesn't know how to care for a bed. I weed like a woman angered, because I am. Thank you so much for that. I do like the snaps. I don't know if you all are familiar with the work of our current Texas Poet Laureate, Amanda Johnston. She received an amazing grant from the American Academy of Poets, and one of the things she decided to do with that grant was to create a thing called Praise Song for the People, praise poems to everyday Texans, and she asked me if I wanted to be a part of that project, and I did. The everyday people I chose are the people that help us track time. By that I mean, so I'm from Houston, and we don't really have seasons in Houston, but there's a clear demarcation between, say, I don't know, summer and fall, right? Things are green, and then they're very clearly not. Here, everything's brown all the time. It's hard to keep track, right? It's hard to know what time it is. And I started thinking about the people who are watchers of nature, and their movements help us to define those things. More specifically, birders. This is entitled Eruption, I, not E, eruption with an I, a sudden increase in numbers. He says, look, and I do, because he's always been present. Like creation myth, like before primordial mountains, before he and I were proto, before pre. Would have been there when the dog was being punched and I stood too close, like pebbles to the face. Would have been there to yell, you lie! And Atlas in the river populars when another said, I don't know how to love you, but I do. He wants to show me a mastery, and it's hard to ignore the Jesus references. He's side-lit by 2 p.m. morning light, lips parted, almost a murmur, almost a prayer. He points an explorer's finger, there. Brown-breasted, I am full of blackbird anger, but knew the truth when he spoke, painting the underhangs of my house blue, inviting the sky to be at home with me. Trust the flap of pages like wings to light on here, a turn, and there, a frenzy of motion, a hawk. In his eyes magnified, I see he is closest to flight. Since we've been on this pellet of bones and skin dust, the 63 zeros nest cast and claw, evidence of those beyond dragon-filled waters. And I wonder each year if it's this magic he seeks, a feather among the hissing mushrooms, a marker of existence, in this land of lost moisture, smeared clouds. Hunters and watchers silently knock at leaves and grubs. When he says, look, I open myself to molt. Okay, and I think I have one more. Just so you know, I have to change a word choice in here. So even though I gave a content warning, I still have to change a word choice in here. The awkward goodbye. 70,000 cicada watch us walk from the front door to his car. By watch, I mean ignore. By ignore, I mean if they can spare space between flapping and crawling and screaming and yelling and breathing and mating to wonder what things a human can't make more complicated. Thank the curvature of the long road and the ever rumbling of the low hills the stars weren't out yet, and the moon not risen so she and the peahens couldn't gloat. We were 4 hands pocketed, not able to hide ourselves in afterlight. You won't believe it. He smelled of raspberries, a beginning and ending. I know the scent, like little hairs raised on my chin, like skin so full of sun it bursts, like hands cupped against the face. Makes me itchy in my bone joints, standing in ant trails. Here's the story to tell someone who wasn't there. I gave birth to blackberries, And there were worms with legs that won't become anything other than what they are. And I felt untrained in the static between our forearms. Was it Morse? Smoke? A wood frog would have thawed faster in that heat. I'd forgotten if it's fingers in the arm crook, or is it sniff nape hairs, or canines on the jawline. Cloud banks for fortunes, pasts. He might have misunderstood, I want you, because it translates to, I want water. I want air in the crevices of my teeth. I want sugars to bind delta to beta. I want the callus of the thumb on the left hand, the beetle's wing swoop of the hair at the temple. I want the burble of laughter you keep chained at your cheek. A confession. Earlier, at the river, I wanted to place a thick slice of fruit upon his tongue, find grip between his third and fourth rib, would have drunk the river water, sacrament chaser, chalice in his ear, like a child panting at a too full cup. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Now I've got to find the bios. There we go. There we go. So our next author is Madeline. Madeline writes fiction and nonfiction. Her first book, Undead, a memoir, is forthcoming from Beacon Press. An excerpt of Undead was selected as the winner of the Plowshares Emerging Writers Contest in 2021. Her work has appeared in Plowshares, The Washington Post, and The Rumpus, among others. She contributed translations of Lida. Thank you so much. Yusupova. I thought I knew, but I was going to put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. The translations of this poetry to the collection The Scar We Know, published by Cicada Press. Got a thing for cicadas here. She's a recipient of a Fulbright grant with an Aspen Words Emerging Writer Fellow in 2020 and 2021, and has received support from the Tin House Summer Workshop, teaches creative writing for us here. Please help me welcome Madeline.
What's up, y'all? I didn't realize until now that I'm the only prose writer here, so just got to break up the poetry. So I will be reading part of a short story. I guess I should give a content warning, except it does give part of this away because part of the tension in the story is trying to figure out what exactly is going on. But for the sake of a warning, this is in fact about cannibalism. So the title of this piece is taken from a psalm. So to preface this, I am going to go ahead and just read the psalm for y'all. This is Psalm 23, just a little chunk of it. So, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. Sorry, I'm going to move this. Maybe, sorry. Woo. And then the title of this piece is Prepare a Table Before Me, Anoint My Head with Oil. Before I understood that I was a girl, I understood that I was a body, a thing that took up space, that could take up more or less space, depending on how I sat, how I held myself, how much I ate. I was a body born to other bodies, from other bodies. As I grew up, I saw the way boys and men looked at me. I learned the way I was desired, the way I curved. This, I discovered, was girlhood. People don't like to talk about it. The way I embody the meat of me. This squeamishness, this discomfort, is why I can do what I do. This is what I get paid for. People squirm in their chairs, stare at their own selves. They can't admit how much they want me or why. I am not supposed to like my job, but I do. I run across the dining room, whisk tiny dishes to elegant women, pour wine for men in ties, wipe the bottle if a drop begins to slide down its neck. The motions, the movements, servers rushing between tables, back and forth from kitchen and bar, an ecosystem all our own, a school of darting fish. It was a hard job to get, to prove myself worthy for. In the first round of interviews, I sat alone in front of a panel, sweating and hoping they didn't notice. They asked me so many questions I thought I would pop. Why do you want this job? What do you bring to this job? What do you know about this job? What do you know about yourself? I had to be honest. I needed money, inflation. Everyone said this was the best place to work in the industry, the top, nothing better. Ambition. I want to test myself, I said. I want to work hard. I want to be proud of what I do. I want to be proud of what I am. For the final interview, everyone I had seen and spoken to from the little restaurant crowded in a poorly lit room. A man walked up to me and bowed his head. I'd met him before in one of the earlier interviews. He'd been kind, explained his job, my role in it. He wore a white apron and looked like every man I'd ever met. This was the last and most important step. Someone handed him a plate and a knife. I closed my eyes. His fingers barely on my arm, as if he would take my hand and lead me somewhere. I held my breath. I would not fail, I would not gasp. There was heat and a prick of pain, sharp and sudden and radiating where his fingers had been. When I opened my eyes, a small piece of red meat was waiting on the center of the plate. Raw, thin, see-through. A few drops of blood. Silence as everyone held their breath. The noise of chewing, the consideration of a swallow. He stared into my eyes and nodded. I passed. Before I started working here, the restaurant was notorious, scandalous. They weren't the first in the country to serve their signature dish, their carpaccio, but they made it theirs. Every part of it done in-house. When they first began to serve it, there were headlines, shocked journalists, moralizing and outraged. But it didn't take long for everyone to grow accustomed to our new and shimmering lives. Hand-wringing turned into gnashing of teeth. Everyone wanted a bite. It became an international destination, millionaires and oligarchs flying from all over to taste our specialty, the slices of meat seasoned just right by our chef, who knew exactly how to accentuate each piece with the faintest splash of vinegar or sprinkle of salt. Our chef has made the drizzled carpaccio into an art. When someone orders it, all the customers pause, set down their forks, turn to see. Some people come in the hopes of just being there when it happens, when it's ordered, knowing that they can't afford it themselves, to smell it, to see it, to hear how a person chews it, to watch the customer's face as they swallow, to see if there is a change. The cost isn't listed on the menu. Market price written instead in curving letters. Most people think it's so the customers won't have to think about the fortune they spend, but really, it's for us. So we won't know the price attached, won't have to know what it means for the cost to be as low or high as it is when we stand in front of customers with plates in our hands. The first time someone ordered it when I worked there, a hush moved through the restaurant. We couldn't pause our work, but we glanced at each other, ourselves. Our chef waited in the kitchen, nodded to Olivia, touched her sleeve as he passed, led her to the walk-in. I caught my breath and wondered why he didn't pick me. Our chef walked out with a small white plate of carpaccio, Olivia following behind him with a solemn look on her face. She stood by his side as he bent, placed the dish in front of the customer. The chef described what he would taste like a delicate wine. Olivia held a bandage to her arm. The customer was the only man in the restaurant without a tie. By looking at him, you wouldn't know that he could afford a thing like this, a thing that costs thousands and thousands of dollars for one serving. Days turned to weeks, and still he chose Olivia and Ashton. Still, I waited at the side. I began to hate when anyone ordered the carpaccio, my own stomach turning into a fist. I hated how Ashton smiled, how Olivia always acted surprised. One night, after closing, after cleaning every table, rolling silverware in embossed napkins, I waited. When it was only the two of us left in the building, the chef scrubbing the stains on a cutting board, steel wool in hand, I walked towards him. "Why don't you ever pick me?" I said. He paused, looked up, stared at me for so long I thought he hadn't understood me. "You're not trying hard enough." I thought of Ashton, how she drank, Olivia and her shoulders, bit the resentment on my tongue. "Okay," I said. "Tell me what to do better." I practice what he tells me. He instructs me how to stand, how to carry myself, what to do in the off hours, the best things to eat. The point, he tells me, is not to be perfect. That's impossible. The point is to accentuate you. You will be different from Ashton, from Olivia, from Sam. In back rooms, he examines me, the places on my legs, my thighs. He is an artist. His fingers, light, grazing the back of my knees. He traces, he presses. I eat vegetables sautéed in olive oil, lean meat, stop drinking caffeine. Every morning my head throbs. I stay away from secondhand smoke, avoid people who wear perfume. At night, I position myself the way he taught me, on my back, neck cupped by pillows, arms to the side, palms up. In the darkness, I imagine him in the room with me, adjusting my posture, his hands shifting my spine. His ghost, his voice, follows me. His presence at my neck, reminding, roll your shoulders back, the blades down your spine, relax your jaw, feel your calves as you walk, the curve from your heel. The first time he chooses me, I think I will die on the table. He calls me back when the dining room is dim and bustling, the chime of wine glasses touching tables, small forks against small plates. My heart beats in ways that it shouldn't. I breathe. I tell myself I am breathing. He motions the slightest nod of his head, and I follow. He closes the door to the walk-in. The air snaps cold, tubs of lettuce and washed vegetables. The table is cold beneath me, even with the butcher paper. The others said he makes it quick, announces what he'll do before he does it so they're ready. Sometimes tells them to close their eyes. He doesn't say anything like that to me. This, I think, must mean something. He is quiet and sure when he touches me, doesn't need to warn me before he does his work. You're doing well. His hands are on my arms, pressing, feeling for pressure, for pushback. His fingers along my back, slow and tender. I straighten. Relax, he says. I am naked, exposed, and have never felt so safe and cared for. He is a professional. Works so quick I only know after, when the gasp catches in my throat, when he bandages the cut, pats it with gauze. You're doing really well, he says again, so soft it's almost lost in the whir of the refrigerator. With every day that passes, I am getting better. There are write-ups in the papers about me, specifically me, my presentation, the way I taste, the way he prepares me. He is interviewed in the New York Times, profiled in the New Yorker. They say he is ingenious, daring, brave. I think of this dish, he says, as a collaboration. The day he won his Michelin stars, he headed for just a second in the walk-in, his hands hovering over me. Thank you, he breathed. I like to think I tasted sweeter, brighter that day, after a blessing like that. People are starting to copy our dish. Fast food stands trotting out their sloppy, cheap versions, vegan plates imitating us with razor-thin beets, grocery store branded packages of it. Other people, other places don't do it right. They get infections, they cut too deep. Demand is screaming. The more people want me, the more they are willing to pay for me, the more I am back there with him in the half-light of the walk-in. On my belly, I wait. He is so swift, so sure, I feel his fingers more than the cut. After he dresses the wound, he doesn't touch me, but it is there in his eyes. We go and stand, the two of us together, silent as a customer brings the meat to their lips, smiling approval. When he looks at me, when I look into his eyes, he sees me as I have never been seen before, down to the marrow. This intimacy, small and precious. I am his creature, his creation. I make myself for him. I spend my days waiting for work to start, spend my shifts waiting for him to call me back. When I lay in the walk-in, I don't speak and he doesn't answer. When he touches me, when he guides the knife across my skin, I am a perfect thing. Wanted and beloved and prized. I think this must be what heaven feels like. My friends ask to see the scars, and I know they want to taste, to run their tongues along the knife lines, to imagine what it would be to stare into my eyes and swallow. I stop talking to them about the restaurant because I only want to talk about him. The way he watches as I pass, his fingers on my skin, the moment when he draws his nails across my shins just so he can hear me gasp. They don't want to hear the only stories I want to tell. I don't have anything to say to these friends anymore. There is a night that it is ordered so many times I think I will faint. He is good. There is almost no blood loss, but still I begin to shake. He could choose Olivia or Ashton, but I catch his eye every time. He knows I am the best. Everyone in the restaurant knows he should rotate, but I smile to customers, I smile to him, and there isn't a choice, really. He is precise, meticulous, cuts through the skin down to the muscle, a doctor with a scalpel. After the fourth order in a row, he does not wait for me to stand. He brings me juice. I didn't know that we had juice. Stay here, he says. Rest. Don't move until I come back. In the walk-in, I stare at a dead fish. It stares back, unblinking. I drink from the glass. The juice is chilled and surprising. Eventually, the door, the air from outside. You have to come back to the floor. His hand is at my elbow. I can't give you special treatment. The world and everything in it spins. You have to make it through the shift. The door is so large and heavy in front of me. He is solid where he touches my elbow, his hand on my back. I am his lamb. He is my shepherd. Thank you. So, sorry, I should have mentioned, that's not the whole story, that's just part of it. If you want to read more, this was published by the Rumpus, so it's there if you want to read the rest of it, but thank y'all. I don't know who the next reader is or their introduction, so thank you. Cool, thank y'all.
I think I will always reconsider the next time I tell someone, you have to make it through the shift. Yeah. Our next reader is Divya, who is currently a creative writing honor student at ACC, although most of her daily writing consists of writing technical manuals and emails. She holds a bachelor's degree in chemistry from the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm gonna pause here. I am so grateful that I've been a part of your journey. When Divya showed up in my creative writing class, it was all science. And my goal as a teacher is to pull you from whatever degree you're in and to get you as creative writing, but I didn't have to do anything, right? Because Divya is this fountain of creative energy, and I'm just glad to be on the journey with you. And I'm glad that you're here at ACC and that we get to be a part of it. After which she decided to explore her creative side by writing screenplays, essays, poetry, and short fiction. Her work has been featured in the Rio Review, our student journal, and Voicemail Poems. She is also the 2024 winner of the National Innovate Poetry Competition. And when not at school or work, she enjoys salsa dancing and hiking. Please help me welcome Divya.
So I actually did a poetry reading last week, and they asked me to introduce myself, and I did not do nearly as good a job as you guys did. That was honestly really lovely. Thank you so much. Professor Arceneaux, you're awesome. Yeah, so speaking of toxic work environments, I like writing very angry poetry about my job and previous jobs that I've held. Yes, I have a degree in chemistry, but all my professional life, pretty much, I've been working in the tech industry as many an Austinite, I believe. And my experiences are wide, and some of them very, very positive. The money is awesome, the benefits are awesome. And healthcare is always amazing to have. I love health insurance. But apart from that, corporate culture is a different beast in and onto itself, and I was forced to confront that last year. So I've compiled a collection of poetry, pretty much based on the advice I've got, some of the things that are happening in the tech industry, some things that have happened at my job, experiencing layoffs, and so I have selected a bunch of them for you. I think there might be some swear words in it, so I apologize right now. Content warning. All right, this first one is about the advice that I've gotten throughout my career. It's called, "My mentor once told me while sipping a martini at a company happy hour, The 6th floor women's bathroom is the best place to cry. Match the movements of the oarsmen to avoid rocking the boat. The promise of a promotion for company loyalty is a lie. The 6th floor women's bathroom is the best place to cry. Switch jobs every 3 years so your salary can rise. Separate your personal life from professional with the moat. The 6th floor women's bathroom is the best place to cry. Match the movements of the oarsmen to avoid rocking the boat. All right, so as I mentioned previously, last year I got laid off from my job, and I wasn't the only one. The company laid off about 1,000 people in a single day and continued to lay people off over the course of a few months, actually, in little rounds. So this poem is about how it feels like to be working in that environment and seeing everyone that you work with being picked off one by one. 21 pings on Slack to honor your service. Carefully folded company swag tee. Final meme and gif you sent me of violins playing as the Titanic sank. Updated LinkedIn, open to work. Half-hearted farewells to coworkers. 15-minute exit interview, feign peace. Final salute to the company laptop. 2-man escort to the parking lot. I pour out a lemon LaCroix for you. Unhappy corporate mandated hours are all that lay before me, with only Git commits to remember you by. Thank you for your documentation. So something that I've realized that I enjoy doing with regards to poetry is writing companion pieces to my poems. So I wrote this one about online dating, and I also wrote a little companion piece to it as well. So the first one is called Gamified Love. Perhaps you date a man holding a fish. Catch of the day, wanting a housewife who pays bills. We've gamified love, so you cannot win. You've matched with the red-handed bartender, so here. 40 fine freckled fellows with the same befuddled expression. Please enjoy our featured simulation. We've gamified love, so you cannot win. Your princess is behind another paywall. Please enjoy our featured simulation. Someone special we think you'd love, misaligned with your politics, religion, ideas on children. Please enjoy our featured simulation. Millions of possible matches hoping to find. The one is a myth our algorithm created for swiping. We've gamified love, so you cannot win. Please enjoy our featured simulation. And then every once in a while, sometimes things kind of work out, maybe. So this is the companion piece, Kismet algorithm. Hair on my head turning silver, koi on your shoulder fading paler. Half a dozen software updates later, the algorithm brings us together. Koi on your shoulder fading paler, your hands reach for mine in the bar. The algorithm brings us together. I reach to give directions, left or right. Your hands reach for mine in the bar. Now they reach for mine in the back seat. As I reach to give directions, left or right, our fingers knitted together. Now they reach for mine in the back seat, the invisible hand of the algorithm guiding, our fingers knitted together, fingers that swiped right twice. Koi on your shoulder, fading paler, the algorithm brings us together. So I also did say that I wrote a lot of angry poetry about my job. This is the anger section of the evening. Any object you desire at your door, free shipping, destroying its own namesake, one click, next day shipping. Post your toddler on the socials and buy another social security. A free marketplace for your personal data, available, no shipping. Farming servers, farming data, farming ideas, farming needs. Consuming creative whims, sites for guilty pleasure shipping. Company values, net positive land value, no fear. Priced out white collar, not blue, made available with shipping. The zenith of technological advancement for humanity, reaped from denying the humanity of bodies, available with shipping. This next piece was inspired by an article from Time magazine that A.R. Rogers sent me. She's right there. Shout out to A.R. Rogers. And it's about Bitcoin mining, of all things, and the environmental impact that it has. So for those of you who don't know, Bitcoin, like mining Bitcoins, is incredibly energy intensive. You need a lot of server space, and you need like these industrial fans to cool those systems down, and that just sucks a lot of energy. It is not a very green way of making money, frankly, and it is kind of a tragedy that this hasn't been spoken about very much with the news and even within the industry a lot of the times. But there is a small town called Granbury, Texas, and they were kind of caught in the middle of this whole environmental crisis because there was a company that moved in that set up a Bitcoin mining initiative there, and it's been wreaking havoc on the environment and even the residents because of the noise and also because of the energy drain that it had on this town. All the birds have left, buzzards only remain. Consensus is, citizens are suffering. They wake from a dead sleep with a red beam in their eardrums, ringing from infernal industrial fans cooling ASIC systems, panting in the sun like good doggos with noise-induced seizures. Hood County howls with collapsing home values. Immersion cooling would quiet the rattle, but it's just not a problem for big wigs who don't live with knots blocking their head. They're concerned with linking the chains and blocks of Bitcoin transactions. Marathons mining munches Granbury's mental energy. Nightmare monsters sucking the town's health and habitat, oozing profits that do not contaminate the pockets of the same folks who were robbed of peace and quiet the whir of a metallic, robotic reaper harvesting sonic sanity at double decibel. Tinnitus is our children's legacy unless ordinances are enforced. Citizens stand until vertigo and vomiting prevails. We can only ask, what does the community gain by having them here? These xenobiotic, ear-splitting cicadas serving yapping masters in other cities, treating good folks like zoo animals, confined to deafening madness. Thank you. All right. These are all works that I've kind of been working on for many months now, but I'm going to read something a little bit new and a little bit different. It's Women's History Month. Yay! 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 Okay. And in honor of that, I thought about how poets sometimes are in conversation with each other, and sometimes they agree, sometimes they disagree, sometimes they like to further things on an idea. And I came across this really great poem by Caitlin Seda, who is writing in response to a poem by Emily Dickinson that probably a lot of people are very familiar with. It's the one that's like, hope is a feathered thing that perches, and it keeps going on. I don't remember the whole thing. I'm not cool enough to memorize it like Prudence Arceneaux over there. She's awesome. But instead, Caitlin Sita disagrees with Emily, and the whole poem is titled, "Hope is not a bird, Emily, it's a sewer rat," which is an awesome title. And she goes on to talk about it. And I thought the poem was funny, and like it spoke to something that I think a lot of people feel in this modern day and age. And I believe that poem actually was published during the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken. So it also was of a time. Unfortunately, however, I don't think a woman born in the 1800s would have really gotten it. So I decided to translate it for Emily Dickinson. It's called "Hope is a Rat Bastard." Hope is the thing with flea-bitten fur that crawls through the sewer grate and scurries about in the shadows, inducing shrieks wherever it goes. And in the dark, dank bowels of society, it breeds terrifying pestilence, like optimism, resistance, endurance, and joy, which infects the masses to act. I've seen it tamed and glorified in fairy tales, and in its wild form darting across fields. Yet it's evolved along us humans, a dangerous pet, precious enough to kill. And then I sat with that for a little while, and then I realized I disagreed with both Emily Dickinson and Caitlin Sita. And I don't think hope is an animal. It's a dandelion, you guys. Hope is the thing with jagged leaves that grows through concrete crevices and blooms a delicate mass of seeds and disseminates its unwanted lightness, and in the centimeter of soil takes root. And flimsy must be the pavement that could not escape the wrath of the weed, which topples tyranny and terror. I've seen it in neighborhoods, both rich and poor, and even upon the highway dividing, yet never, even with pesticides, seen it succumb to extermination. Thank you, guys.
Hope. I like that, though. I think I was just back there working on a thing of my own now. I think we're going to be in conversation about that. Yeah. Our fourth and final reader is Aimee, and Aimee's an adjunct professor of English, poet, and writer living in Austin. And I want you to know that I am subversively twisting Aimee's arm to hopefully get Aimee to come over and teach creative writing with us. Her books of poetry include Headlines, Love Junkie, and A Sentenced Woman. Her memoir about a triple transplant journey, Contains Recycled Parts, was published in December of 2023. Some obsessions include traveling, buying books at used bookstores, prints, The Color Purple, which makes sense, and Broadway musical soundtracks, which I should clarify, The Color Purple was in lowercase letters, so it wasn't The Color Purple, the Broadway music. Yeah, so those two things are separate. Please help me welcome Aimee.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. So I'm going to read some poems from my book, my chapbook, Headlines, which it got the name because every title of every poem in the book is a headline that I found. There's only a couple that aren't. It was this project, I was kind of sick of writing about myself, so I needed a kind of prompt. So I started collecting headlines, and then when I needed a prompt, I would just go back and find a headline and then write about it. Okay. All right, this one, this was a story about a woman who got a divorce and went through, or after his death, went through kind of a neat transformation. So the title is Woman Who Spends Years Following Husband's Rules Transforms Herself After His Death. Ways to measure a life. The silent steam of apple pies served, crust more appetizing than the truth, in vases of wilted daisies loitering in an unused room, in shadows confined to the wall and floors of her factory-like days. The retro smell happiness of a childhood out of reach, in the sting of her mother's words, child of the devil, after she got her first tattoo at 58. A butterfly spread across the wanton, neglected expanse of her heart. In the victory of 1,000+ hours spent getting inked, reaping the rewards of her own bulldozed life, in the thick clink of her own freedom, opening like a zoo cage for the first time, hot and wild. All right. If you're of a certain age, you might remember Fudgy the whale, the cake. So this title is Fudgy the whale feels no existential dread upon turning 40. Though time tries to pile on the years, timeless you stand looking the same, nary the slightest wrinkle in your 40 years. Why should you bear the crisis of an existential dread? Born to be the dread's antidote, you are a spiritual buoy on which us humans float our own nostalgia, our knowledge of the cutthroat piracy of our own flesh. A brilliant time machine, you take us where everything sparkles and gleams, flaunting a false paradise of our own obscene making where nothing ever changes. That's why we love you, standing firm against the war cry of time's ravages, refusing to yield, to die. Okay. I have a Prince poem here that I want to read. Oh, this one's good too. This is a cute headline that I found. 93-year-old asks internet to pick her wedding dress. Magic then shirks the falsities of time and space, nor does real love seem to sour the slightest with age, when at 93 you coaxed your heart out of its cage with a mountain of loving humor and timeless grace, asked strangers online to look, gauge, and place a vote on your red wedding dress, knowing you sage that magic shirks the falsities of time and space, cannot be misdressed. 20 years he asked you to grace him with your hand. Ultimately, you knew the raging fire of mortality would die out. So you placed your spirit in a cocoon of love, permanent, unbreakable vase. Magic then shirks the falsities of time and space. Okay, this poem, if you're of a certain age, you'll remember 90210, and so Luke Perry died not too long ago at a young age, a little while ago now, but not too young. He died at 52. So, and I was teaching that day and had a lot of feelings come up. And so I found this headline, Luke Perry is dead at 52. It's Monday, and the high in Austin won't get above 43 degrees anywhere in the entire state today. Somewhere between the humdrum scrubbing of the dried up dregs of my uneaten notes of a breakfast now and the past, and choosing of a pair of boots to wear for the class I will be teaching in the immediate future, I learned that Luke Perry is dead. I don't cry, but I'm not unaffected. Today in class, we are supposed to talk about plot. I'm supposed to tell them how every story contains a beginning and a middle and an end, and 99% of the time in that order, and how crisis comes right before the end, with sometimes only a smidget of time left for the resolution, the neat tying up of loose ends. Instead, I want to walk into class with a dying erasable marker and scrawl, "It all ends in death," on the board, and walk out. I mean, of course it does. I'm in high school, years away from sex, and have no boyfriend, so I pretend Dylan McKay is mine. He thinks it's cool that I'm on the color guard and wear glasses and spend my Friday nights writing poetry. Each week, I watch the unfurling of the delicate volcano that is Dylan and Brenda through 1,000 tiny pixels from the second floor of our suburban home in semi-rural Illinois, away from the others in my own world where I can smush through the TV screen, climb onto the back of Dylan's bike, and feel that hard promise of his black leather jacket against my slender, pale arms as I mold and lose myself into him. His mouth is a world I want to invade, and his eyes are 2 pools of lightning quicksand. A generation of girls will never quite escape. In class, I asked the students to name the major plot points, including the inciting incident and climax of the story that we have just read. What I really want to ask them is, now tell me everything that happens between those points. Where does the author leave a conflict unresolved? What moments chisel a scar onto the protagonist's still beating heart? Okay. I'll read this poem. This is one that is not the title of a headline. This is just called Good Lies. My niece claps her hand around my neck, still believing in magical ponies with wings and Ninja Turtles in the underground sewers and a man in a red velvet suit that leaves her presence. She asks me if I'm going to stay the night at her house, and I say no because I don't want to lie to her. But I do lie to her all the time. I lie to her when I say I left my phone at home, when really it's in my purse, I just don't want her to use it. I lie when I admire her Lego house as if it were a true mansion. I pretend to see the horses and zebras in her kamikaze crayon scribbles. I make up some kind of answer when she asks another question that I have no nice answer for. I keep lying and I keep lying. I want to bathe and steep her in these good lies and sweet moments so long that they melt into an armor of moxie she'll wear without so much as a whisper of a flinch. Oh, okay. If you're a fan of the Golden Girls, remember B. Arthur. So this is a fun headline I came across. Golden Girl B. Arthur was a truck-driving Marine during World War II. True headline. Officious but probably a good worker if she has her own way, writes the worker on your Marine evaluation. No waif or shirker of duty were you in anything, enlisting at 21. Under attitude/manner written over-aggressive. No one dared get anything by you. Your most used gun was your sniper-like mouth that all but made you a star many times over. First a staff sergeant in a world you buried with honorable discharge. To us, you became Dorothy Zbornak, wisecracking, swearing sage of Miami, of us, who we trusted to help assuage our fears, our guilt, with cheesecake and words waged always with truth bitter or sweet, no matter the flavor, the steady, solid one, to ever-wavering, lived, conjured deity of silver screen, savior of who knows how many. Dorothy was B was Dorothy, both born of the same queen bee sting, the same fire spirit, blazing free. Okay, this is a cute story. This was a while back. There was a raccoon that climbed a skyscraper, right? Became a little bit of an internet sensation. So title is Daredevil Raccoon Climbs Minnesota Skyscraper and Becomes a Sensation. Isn't that life though, when sometimes your only option is to climb or be captured, but you, Trash Panda, were made for the chase. Dug in your razor-sharp claws with caution and headed for heaven for 24 hours. Our breath stayed in our chest in a world burning itself alive. You had to succeed. Every story's guild held us more captive as our hearts molted and fussed to your fate. Pausing, you napped on a sunny windowsill 18 stories up. The internet active in plotting your progress. Strangers stood together, cheered. A child clutched a stuffed raccoon. For a hot blink, time ceased in her relentless crawl, united by a charming and weird circumstance. Our spent souls grasped and clung to the brink of hope renewed. A world we rethought where the only language is love, the only heart thump is love, the only way is love, only love. All right, I'll read one or two more here. This was another headline I came across that I thought was interesting. The wartime spies who use knitting as an espionage tool. And so, stitch by stitch, history was made through wielding of knitting needles, thin as nails, trapping secrets, passing them around without a sound, deft and clever combinations of knit and purl stitches, creating a genius kind of Morse code of covert details. And so, stitch by stitch, history is made. For who would think a granny with the yarn was a snitch, sitting on her porch, petticoated and pale, trapping secrets, passing them around without a sound. Phyllis Latour Doyle, one of many a glitch armies could never fix. Bony women's hands defeating males, and so, stitch by stitch, history is made. Molly, old mom Rinker, tossed balls of yarn into a ditch, a spy for Washington. Bullets can be like air and female. Trapping secrets, she passed them around without a sound. Who knew battles and words could hinge on the soft twitch of a wrist? Phyllis and Molly, two of history's great tales. And so, stitch by stitch, history is made. Trapping secrets, pass them around without a sound. Okay. So this headline was another, if you grew up at a certain time, you went to Blockbuster, right? So this title is, there's now only one Blockbuster left on the planet. My favorite coffee shop acquired an old Pac-Man machine last week, and my spirit did a full stop when the sight of it collided Mack truck-like with my over 40-year-old eyes. Yesterday, I was a girl thrashing stick-like through the sand towards a rotting pier in Myrtle Beach, towards the video arcade long since closed. My brother and friend John and I lost hours chasing ghosts around artificial mazes, while outside the ocean crashed and crashed and crashed upon the shore, trying to teach us things about life, like persistence and like how to stay afloat when you get blindsided by a wave gone rogue, and how to continue building a castle even after the shovel and bucket are lost, to an unforeseen undertow. It's in that same coffee shop on that same day that I read there's only one Blockbuster left on the planet. And yesterday I was a girl, and today my nephew is 9, and my niece is 7, and I've never felt so close to the ruthless and frantic rantings of Pac-Man's ghosts. All right, so in honor of Women's History Month, I wanted to close with a couple of short poems from a couple of my favorite female authors. Start with this one, from Lucille Clifton, her poem, Won't You Celebrate With Me? Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model. Born in Babylon, both non-white and woman, what did I see to be except myself? I made it up here on this bridge between starshine and clay. My one hand holding tight, my other hand, come celebrate with me that every day. Something has tried to kill me and has failed. And this one, Dorothy Parker was one of my first favorite poets that I encountered, so this is her poem called Interview. The ladies men admire, I've heard, would shudder at a wicked word. Their candle gives a single light. They'd rather stay home at night. They do not keep awake till 3, nor read erotic poetry. They never sanction the impure, nor recognize an overture. They shrink from powders and from paints. So far, I've had no complaints. Thank you.
Listening to your work, I was reminded of a headline that I've carried with me for a few years. I'm going to poorly paraphrase it, but it's a researcher in Antarctica who was charged with attempted murder because he stabbed another longtime researcher with a fried chicken leg because the other researcher kept giving away the endings of the books that he was reading. Yeah. I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to thank you all for supporting us. I want to thank you all for being in this creative space with us. This is 1 month